Have you ever asked yourself why so many people detest it when they spend time by themselves? In a bustling world on constant notifications, constant distractions, and always living connected, solitude has become something we avoid at any end. What if I told you, however, that being alone isn't something to fear? It's actually the very gateway to true freedom and finding out who you are. Solitude is not loneliness, you see. Loneliness can be empty. It feels like something is missing. Solitude empowers. It's the space where you meet yourself, recharge, and connect with a deeper level of peace. Most of us don't get this. We believe being alone equates to being disconnected. But the thing is that we can find the strongest connection of all with ourselves by being alone. Buddhism is all about finding the answers we're looking for within us, not in the noise of the outside world. Solitude is how we learn about life, how to live, not how to run and hide from it. In the next few minutes, I want to discuss 5 powerful Buddhist lessons on how being alone will give you the greatest fulfillment. Hopefully, these lessons will inspire you to reframe what you think of solitude and teach you that it's not all about getting alone, it's about being at your best. That means if you're committed to traveling inside and finding your own freedom, stick around. The path might surprise you. So let's dive into the 5 Buddhist lessons. Lesson 1. Build emotional independence. Now let's talk about emotional independence and one of the most transformative gifts of solitude. What does true emotional independence really look like? In simple terms, it's your ability to handle your own feelings instead of having to always seek out external validation, comfort, or stability. This may seem difficult, even counterintuitive, since we live in a world that propagates the idea to ask for help for emotional support. Solitude is the perfect teacher when it comes to learning how to rely on yourself emotionally, and that is one of the most empowering things you can learn to do. There is no one to distract you from your feelings when you are alone, but no one's there to cheer you up, calm you down, or tell you everything will be okay. This might feel a bit uncomfortable at first, but it's an opportunity. Solitude forces your emotions to be confronted, to stop running and avoiding, stop suppressing. Take a visual, for example. Imagine feeling anxious. In a social setting, you could distract yourself by scrolling through your phone or talking to someone. There's nowhere to hide when you're alone. You have to face that anxiety and ask yourself why you're feeling it and how to soothe yourself. This is where emotional independence begins. You start to learn how to become resilient in yourself, instead of continually leaning on others for temporary relief. In a Buddhist sense, managing emotions is often one of the most important aspects of self-awareness. You get the space to practice this in solitude. You can see your feelings in those serene times, as you'd see clouds as they pass through the sky. Patterns become obvious. Maybe you realize how anger usually comes following unmet expectations, or how sadness generally occurs when you look at how you're not measuring up to others. Once you have identified these patterns, you can start to break these patterns and start to replace reactive habits with more mindful processes. The upshot of that process of self-regulation is a strengthened sense of yourself. You figure out that you don't need external validation to feel worthy. You don't have to wait for someone to come and calm you down or make you happy. You then know that all you need is presently within you. This isn't about cutting people out or shutting down emotionally. It's about being so self-sufficient as to have rich relationships, because you have more than you need and share it anyway. As a muscle, think in terms of emotional independence. The gym where you train is solitude. As you sit with your feelings instead of running from them, you're building strength. When it's you who comforts yourself, rather than relying on an external source, you're getting more and more resilient. When you prove to yourself that you have what it takes to solve a problem all on your own, you're proving to yourself that you are enough. Emotional independence doesn't mean you won't ever lean on others. It means that your emotional foundation has everything it needs to stand on its own and not lean against someone else. Once you have this foundation, you're not shaken by other opinions or actions anymore. You don't break under criticism and you don't feed on praise. Whatever this world will throw at you, you continue to carry with you your peace. But how does solitude help increase your emotional independence? Provide you with the place where you can meet yourself as you are, not filtered, not distracted, not influenced by something else. It helps you learn to trust your gut, to find peace in yourself, and to be strong. Secondly, once you've created that inner stability, the world becomes a much less intimidating place. Lesson 2. Self-companionship and inner strength. Have you ever asked yourself this? How much of your actual joy comes from the acceptance and approval of everyone? A question many of us avoid but worth thinking about. In this day and age, our self-worth is often defined by likes, compliments, and external validation. And unless we consciously practice learning to see these things through a different lens, we are always at risk of forgetting who we really are. That's why self-composure is so vital as an art. That's not being alone. That's achieving strength on your own. We put our happiness and the confidence into the hands of others when we depend on them constantly for validation. A kind word will lift us. A harsh word will put us down. This reliance diminishes over time of our sense of self. Rather, we start to define ourselves by how we see ourselves through the eyes of others. This cycle is broken down by solitude. Alone time is wonderful for fostering self-appreciation. You start listening to what you have to say, as opposed to people's opinions. You become aware of what you need and what you want, and no longer are challenged with doing so for someone else. True inner strength starts to grow in here. Assume self-companions as being your best friend. A good friend is someone that will support you, push you, and be there for you. You can be that for yourself. You learn how in solitude. When the world tells you it's not good enough, it teaches you the words to say when you're down, the way to rally yourself when you feel discouraged, and how to remind yourself of your worth when you need it. It's not a question of shutting everyone out or rejecting their kindness. It's about hearing that you don't require it. The moment you learn to motivate yourself, learning to live inside your comfort, you start craving for external validation as a bonus, not a requirement. You're not desperate for approval anymore because you've already approved of yourself. This is a practice that lies deep within Buddhism. It's about looking within, acknowledging already you are the source of peace, motivation, and love. It allows you to explore this veracity by being alone. It gives you the space to ask yourself, what do I need? What makes me feel fulfilled? What can I do for myself right now? Answers to these questions usually expose a power you didn't know was right there. And this inner strength is the transformative. It helps you get through life with confidence because you know you can count on yourself. You've built a stable foundation within where it shields you from the ups and downs of external opinions. It fulfills your relationship with others more. They become partners because you aren't searching for others to fill an empty concert. They became lifelines. That doesn't mean you won't have challenges or doubt. It just means you have your own source of comfort and motivation. That means when those moments do come, you'll be able to work through them. You'll have the power to lift yourself up instead of waiting for someone else to pick you up. You'll learn how to continue to move through when you can't see the path. So, why is self-companionship so powerful? Because it gives you the freedom to be yourself, unapologetically. It teaches you that your worth isn't determined by what others think, but by how you see yourself. And it helps you discover that the most reliable, supportive, and loving companion you'll ever have is already by your side. It's you. Lesson 3. Learn detachment from external noise. In our world of never-stopping talking, it never stops. Behind you, there aren't just notifications, ads, opinions, and expectations awash against each other trying to draw attention. Amidst all of these noises, it's easy to forget who we really are. That's why solitude's one of the greatest lessons to teach us is detachment from any outside distractions. Something amazing happens when you take a step away from the noise. Your own voice, this quiet, unfiltered truth of your thoughts, feelings, and desires, begin to start to be heard until we drown it out with the opinions of others or the social media spew behind us. Solitude is the space to filter out your society, to give it a pause and think what truly matters to you. The Buddhist teachings tell us about the transience of external noise. In the blink of an eye, then, the world's opinions change. The day they praise one thing, it may become the day they criticize it. The more we anchor in the ebb and flow of this tide of life, the less stable we'll be. When you disassociate yourself from these distractions, you start to settle. What if most of what you do is based on what other people want or expect of you? What career you choose, what you look like, what you do with your life? Taking time alone helps you start to see how much of this is noise and how much of it actually lives in alignment with your authentic self. It's solitude which becomes your sacred place, where you can reconnect with your values, with what you believe in, without judgment or comparison. This doesn't mean you detach yourself from external noise. You've stopped listening to the world-knowing youth and dictate your sense of worth. With that, you stop chasing trends, approval, fleeting validation. Instead, you begin to live from a place of inner clarity and purpose. By removing distractions, you have more of a closeness to yourself. You know that you don't have to prove anyone wrong. There's no need to fit into a mold and be what people expect you to be. You have only one voice to follow, and that is yours. The source of your happiness is shifted towards this lesson, which makes it transformative. You no longer search outside for fulfillment and begin to find you within. In doing so, you break free from the constant pull of external noise. And in so doing, you're able to live with peace, with confidence, and with authenticity. Lesson 4. Embrace silence as a teacher. Silence is intimidating in a world that is always talking. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, sometimes it even feels unnatural, and it's rare. One of the most powerful things we have for self-awareness and deep understanding, however, is silence. When we allow for silence, we create an opportunity to listen to the voice of our inner wisdom, a voice that is swept away by this chaotic, everyday life. Imagine, when was the last time you were in absolute silence? Nothing playing, no noise, phone buzzing, nothing. How did it feel? Silence can be uncomfortable for most people, even producing anxiety. However, this discomfort is usually an indication that we have gotten addicted to the noise around us. What it used to be like is to just be, and we've forgotten that. It is but in silence that we find a deep place to grow. Silence for Buddhists is not an absence, but a presence. Listening both to our thoughts as well as to the deeper, quieter wisdom inside of us is something that happens best when we are silent. When you allow yourself to be silent, you start to observe the substance of your thoughts, your feelings, and your likes. You learn how much of your mind is spent worrying about things, making unnecessary judgments, and being distracted. In that stillness, you start to relax, and in that relaxation, you start to release everything, creating room for clarity, insight, understanding. I think whatever silence you have, it allows you to see yourself from a distance without attachment. Imagine watching clouds passing by. We might even identify with one, but so soon we realize they come and go and don't even need our control. Likewise, when we welcome silence, we procrastinate nothing. We give no place to any thought or emotion, we simply observe. In this observation, however, we begin to understand our true nature. Silence within is Buddhism's cutting edge to wisdom. Quiet down the noise of the world, and we begin to hear the quiet wisdom of our own heart, and it doesn't shout at all, it whispers. This is the wise guidance that we don't make choices that are out of alignment with who we are, not what the world wants us to do. Embracing silence brings in stillness, and it's the stillness that brings in insight. This trains us to know the difference between what matters and what isn't necessary, and we practice long enough letting go of unnecessary distractions until we begin to find ourselves, our own peace, our own clarity, our own path. But there is such a thing as silence in its simplest form, without emptiness. It's a space of potential. This is a space to connect with our truth at its deepest level. When we let ourselves relax enough in that silence, we allow ourselves into the wisdom within each and every one of us. This way, silence is what becomes your teacher. Use that as a doorway to learn more about yourself. Let it teach you that the quietest moments are the ones you hear the clearest in. From there, you will learn the wisdom within that will lead you to peace, clarity, and true freedom. Lesson 5. Discover your true self. Staying busy and caught up in daily chaos, we sometimes lose sight of who we are, the roles we play, the expectations placed on us, and the opinions of others can trap us. With so little time, it's hard to simply be ourselves. But solitude gives us the opportunity to reconnect with our true nature, the person beneath the surface. Solitude is like a mirror. It doesn't show the mask we wear for the world, but reflects the genuine person underneath. In solitude, there's no need to impress anyone. It's in these quiet moments that we can finally ask, who am I, really? Am I simply the person I want to be, not who others expect me to be or who anyone else thinks I should be? Being introspective means looking within, examining your thoughts, emotions, and actions. In solitude, we can do this honestly and freely. With no distractions, we can reflect on our values, desires, and fears. We start noticing patterns in how we behave, why we act the way we do, what inspires us, and what holds us back in the first place. Buddhist teachings emphasize the path to wisdom through self-inquiry. As we explore our minds further, we uncover why we are the way we are. We realize much of it stems from outside forces, society, family, friends, past trauma, and more. Yet beneath all of this, there is a core self that is pure, unchanging, and whole. Solitude gives us the chance to strip away outside influences and get closer to that core. It's like clearing the fog to reveal a bright blue sky. When we let go of expectations and the surrounding noise, we remember that being human is a learning process. This makes us far more peaceful and authentic. We stop chasing approval or validation and begin living in alignment with our true selves. However, self-discovery is not always easy. To do this, we must be brave. It takes courage to face parts of ourselves that we may not like. Yet, it is in these very moments of self-reflection that we begin to unlock our true potential. We come to know who we are. We embrace our flaws. We discover what we truly want in life. The more we connect with our authentic self, the easier life becomes. We no longer feel stuck between different roles or identities. We stop pretending and start living with purpose. From here, we begin making decisions guided by inner wisdom and trust in our untainted self. So, how do we discover who we truly are? By embracing solitude for introspection. When we give ourselves the time and space to process our thoughts, feelings, and desires without judgment, we uncover the most important truth of all. Let's simply be who we are because we are enough. As we conclude our reflection on the power of being alone, Let's take a moment to pause and think about what we've learned. But remember, embracing solitude doesn't mean avoiding the world or rejecting meaningful relationships. It doesn't have to feel lonely or isolating. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Solitude gives you the opportunity to connect with yourself, rediscover the core of your being, and develop inner strength and wisdom. These qualities ultimately help you build healthier relationships with others. None of the practices we explored today are about living in isolation forever. It's about embracing silence, enjoying your own company, detaching from external noise, becoming emotionally independent, and uncovering your true self. It's not about retreating into another dimension and never coming back. It's about giving yourself the space to grow, understand, and heal. You'll find that your connections with others become even more meaningful once you've nurtured this relationship with yourself. In your relationships, you'll show up as your true self, no longer seeking validation or approval from others. The real freedom of solitude lies in the ability to live life on your own terms. It's about finding the freedom to stop letting the world dictate your life and instead taking charge of doing what truly fulfills you. It's realizing that you are enough without needing to prove your worth as a replacement for anyone else. I hope you'll take these practices to heart. Spend some time alone without any distractions and discover what it truly means to be connected with yourself. See what happens when you allow yourself to listen deeply. Take time to introspect as often as you can and notice how it brings you closer to your core truth. Most importantly, remember that the stronger your relationship with yourself becomes, the more you open the door to a richer, more authentic life. Live with yourself. Live fully. The freedom you're searching for has always been within you.